look for ways to try to ease our minds, forced into a change. I guess it had to be this way. But do your best to try to stay away. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realized what it means to try, to hold on to the love. Don't you be afraid. There come a time when you will have your say, and don't forget to pray the Lord to keep us safe. We will live to fight another day. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realized what it means to try. I can feel it coming, I can see it miles away. I can feel the sun of brighter day. I can hear the laughter, I can see your smiling face. I can feel the love that's on the way. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realized what it means to try. The day they closed the world, we all went outside, looking for the light. I can feel it coming, I can see it miles away. I can feel the sun of brighter days. I can hear the laughter, I can see your smiling face. I can feel the love that's on the way. I can feel it coming, I can feel it coming. I can feel it coming, I can feel it coming. The day they close the world.
Wow. I absolutely love Love Planet. That's who you guys were listening to. Make sure you go and check them out on loveplanet.net. I am Debbie G. It is time for a Spark the G Vibe Sunday. We haven't had one of these in a bit. I am super stoked. Spark the G Vibe. If you're new to me, that means spark your gratitude vibration. And that's what it's all about. Raising the vibration. We're going to be lifting the roof off the house tonight because who we have with us is just this extraordinary gentleman that I have been so blessed to meet. And the reason I got to meet him is because he's also one of our team players on our Peace 2030.Earth games. Oh, he's fabulous. Okay, check this out. Jonah Lyon is a visionary, a sacred activist, civil rights leader, a whole systems designer. His mission is to support the realization of world peace through the innovation and gamification. Jonah, I hope you're laughing at me. Oh, he is laughing good. I can see him in the green room of education. We're gaming it up, guys. Tell you what. He is the founder of the Jedi Academy and Jedi Alliance, a DAO, decentralized, autonomous, I don't even think I can talk tonight, organization that works with the force of nature. I mean, you guys checking it out here. Jedi, force of nature, you're feeling the vibe where we're going with this. To organize conscious, co created content to propagate the quantum field with ancient future wisdom. Wow. So, without further ado, and I'm not that way, I don't blunder anymore of Jonah. Welcome, Jonah. Jeez, Jiminy Crickets. Testing my ability to speak tonight, are we?
Oh, yeah, it's so perfect and awesome. Thank you so much for bringing me on, Debbie. And yeah, that's one of the tools right there. Is I love wordsmithing, and really playing around with words, and this peace on earth experience that we're on this team, on this global team. It's such a remarkable movement right now, and the poet, right, the peace on earth team, and I love that acronym. Is one of my favorite things to do. Is I've been writing poetry for uh, probably about a solid 7 years now, and writing poetry each and every day. I tapped into haiku as the way of writing poetry, which is essentially it goes in syllables, so it's a 5-syllable line, a 7-syllable line, and then a 5-syllable line. So it's only 3 lines. So it really I love it because it really brings in like a concise, clear, and direct message, and so it's less word. So being such a wordsmith with the words that are being used, and it's up leveled my game for sure.
Well, you were up leveling our game today during our peace meeting because you were bringing up the difference between unity or unification and actually, I don't even have it with me. Here we go. Yeah, unification and uniting, and the difference between the two. Because what you were telling me was that one is more of conformity, and the other feels more like you are one. And I thought that so let's just expand on the difference between unification and uniting a little bit, and then I would love to really dig in to talk about the fact that you're a Jedi warrior and you're a change dude. Like, I think you're going to single-handedly bring change to the planet. Like, you are a hardcore warrior, and everybody that's on right now, seriously, this guy's absolutely brilliant. So, but let's talk about the wordsmith, the words real quick, and then jump into that.
Yeah. Well, words, right, is there's the same letters in words as there is in sword. So I look at it from a samurai's point of view in that, and the Jedi lightsaber, right, and the light that comes from the expression of our words. And so being very mindful and conscientious around the intention of our word. And the look at when I dove deep into unification and uniting in the conversation with a dear sister of mine who I'm working very closely with in our next phase of a movement called Trails to Freedom. We were looking at the word unification and uniting and the difference in that, and what we really came to recognize and understand in that is unification. It has the implication of uniformity and conformity instead of honoring the diversity that we can achieve in the uniting, and uniting all diversity and looking and honoring all of the unique, authentic aspects of ourselves and all life, and uniting all life together in that in oneness. Oneness isn't about us all being the same. It's more about really saying that we love the difference and that we each are made different and unique in this beautiful tapestry that is life, and that is the universe. That everything, every single one of us, every single thing has a unique purpose. And so uniting all of that together is what makes it beautiful. And so that's what I see. What we came up with is the difference between unification as that being a intention, if you will, of unification, but rather it's an intention of uniting all nations. That's one of the Jedi visions, is uniting all nations for 7 generations at bare minimum, and to give thanks for all the generations that have come before us and the shoulders that we stand upon, and all of our ancestors, and to honor that, and to then also be a way forward for the generations that come after us to be able to stand on our shoulders and the shoulders that we are standing on as a totem. And so, you know, uh, that intention of uniting all nations, the plant nation, the animal nation, the human nation, the star nation, to look at it from that standpoint, really being fully radically inclusive.
That is just amazing. What I'm hearing you say in a huge way is it's radical acceptance of each other regardless of anything. It's just radically accepting each other just because we're human. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. And I really love that. Let me know what you guys give us from the comments. So you are on the beautiful island of Maui? You are Maui. I love Maui. Of all the islands, I love Maui. You're doing some extraordinary work. Now, see, now we're going to get into some really good meat here, because you are already doing, you aren't somebody that's popping up saying, I'm going to do anything. You're actually actively like in the cusp of this. It's beautiful and just gorgeous. Okay, so tell us what you're doing.
Well, here on Maui, I've moved around quite a bit and landed here, and to call this home. Maui called us home, and my family here. And so acting locally and with a global perspective, and I see Maui as a unique place. It is a healing space for rejuvenation. It is where so many healers come to rejuvenate, to then be able to to heal ourselves, and then to bring that healing to the rest of the planet. And we're a spot where literally we can, everything that we need is here, and the regenerative nature of this place. I mean, out of the 9 ecosystems, Maui has 7 of them. The Big Island has all 9 ecosystems, on one island, and so we can grow anything, and everything that is needed in terms of our natural resources are in abundance here. And so, and it's small, and that smallness brings another unique opportunity where we can really come together as a community and bring forth these changes. And many of us have been called here because we do see this vision of Maui being a model and a blueprint to usher in all of the new paradigm innovations that are one with the earth, that are giving back to the earth, and that we recognize that everything that we create is really a co-creation with earth and with the Most High, and that what we are co-creating is therefore then giving back in the way of looking at it from a tree's perspective, and that as the tree comes from the seed and grows, every bit of that tree is going to return back to the soil to then grow more trees, or literally help to continue its own growth. And so, this is one of those places that it would not take a long time or a whole lot of resources to really make that shift, and then we can model that and bring forth all of these resources. I mean, between all of the islands, we can literally probably feed the world with what can be grown on the island of Maui, what can be grown on Big Island, what, in all of the islands, and that will return the islands to their majesty as well. And they literally are the version of New Earth, on a physical standpoint. They're the newest part and have direct relations to Lemuria and Atlantean times, and so it's kind of it's a brilliant place to be, and I would love to see this actualize, and I think that's much of why I'm here right now, is to usher that in. And I got the direct guidance when I first came to Maui that this was where I was to plant the seed of the Jedi Alliance and Jedi Academy. And so that's what we're doing. We're having gatherings every
Super.
full moon, every new moon, on that natural cycle. So every 2 weeks, and we're bringing forth members of the community to sit in circle, sit in council, just come up, speak upon solutions to bring awareness around the issues at hand, and how to bring opportunity and to reclaim our sovereignty and to reclaim the kingdom of Hawaii. So,
Mm, beautiful. I absolutely love this. I just love it so much. What I liked, okay, so you are on our team and you're creating a Poe zone, which is a peace on Earth zone, and you're going to be a peace on Earth partner, and you've been playing the game. But I'd like you to tell me exactly, because you and the game are absolutely synchronized right now. It's just amazing to me. So talk about the game and when you heard about this and how that it fits with what you're doing with the Jedi Alliance.
Yeah, that was, they said, very synchronistic, and there was just this weaving that took place when Mimi, Radiance Burns with Lighthouse Effects. We met years back and started and knew we were going to be collaborating with each other, and she shared with me, knowing what it is that I was facilitating and creating with this Jedi Alliance and Jedi Academy. She shared with me the Peace on Earth game, and movement. And then I tuned into that, and I was just like, wow, there's this whole other entity, this collaboration of organizations, of a visionary, David Gershon's vision, and what he was stewarding and bringing forth, and co-creation, and all of the partners. And I'm like, look at what's already there, and to bring the two together, and to see, like, the training, for instance, the Jedi training is like this seven actions. We have 7 days of the week, right? And there's 7 actions, and this notion of seven chakras. It's just like this 777 kind of energy that is very, very powerful in numerology, and how that can all be integrated. And so the academy, I've looked at it as an academy. The initiation would be 7 days, would be like a 7-day initiation period. And then that initiation period is like we learn in that 7 days, and then now we're in that 7-day cycle. So that's going to repeat itself. And so those, like, 7 actions we do, let's say we do one of those actions each day, and then we turn it over and do that the next week and the next week. And so we're just in this cycle, in the 7-day cycle. And that's how the academy essentially was built, is imagining doing that 7-day cycle for a season, from one equinox to the solstice, if you will. So for a 3-month period of time. As you see in the chat in the introduction, I was a firefighter, and that our academy is a 3-month academy, as a firefighter. And the amount that I learned mentally, what I learned about myself, physical, the level of which it took me was astronomical. Like, I was able to hold and maintain a state of peace and calmness in chaos. To be able to walk into a burning building or a forest fire or whatever that is, or an emergency situation, massive car accident. Like, we're trained to be able to mitigate chaos and to walk into these and be able to maintain a
Wow.
calmness so that we can do our job, so that we can, because we can't freak out. We're the ones going in while everybody else is like leaving the space. And so that's where a lot of the notion of this academy started brewing in, where it's like, okay, what does that look like from a standpoint of prevention, even not only response, but also the prevention mechanism. And as you see, what we're dealing with right now in the world is there's a lot of chaotic experiences. I mean, we literally have a fire. I just left on the way here to meet with you, and there's a fire again in the Central Valley of Maui. There's
Mm.
fires all over Northern California, Southern
Oh
California.
yeah, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere,
Mhm.
right? We're in a huge
Yeah.
fire season right now, which fire is the representation elementally of transformation. It's part of the cycles of life. It brings new life in. But it's very destructive. It's a very destructive, element. And from that destruction or that chaos comes new life. And
Yeah.
and so that's where I would like to, just kind of bring light and maybe some feelings that help people that may be struggling with the fires, especially lost. My brother lost his fires to the Northern California fires a couple of years ago.
Mm.
My heart so goes out to those that are evacuated and fearful, either lost their homes or feel fearful of losing their homes. It is, again, it's like I'm compassionate and empathetic for that. And my heart goes out to that. And but we will rebuild again, and this is when our community gets to come in together and to
Mhm.
support each other, to love each other, to open our homes to each other, to
Yep.
share our resources with each other,
Yep.
to really show up for each other. And I think that's what's happening in the world right now is we're given this opportunity to slow down, to acknowledge each other, and to ask each other, how may I be of service? How can I show up for you? What is it that you need anything?
Bingo. Mhm. I want to just say blessings to you for being a fireman. That is a really big responsibility, and also anybody willing to risk their life to save the life and the homes and the animals, and it's just amazing to me. I just to me that is just so glorious. So thank you for that. And then your empathy for the people that are going through that right now is just beautiful. And I agree with you. But you said something that was so right on point in my world too, is that all of this has been a grand opportunity. We're rebuilding. We're rebuilding. When we saw the Twin Towers go down, all right, it was devastating. I'm a lot older, so I mean, my kids were in school when this happened. I kept them home that day. And, you know, that destruction, though heartbreaking and whatnot, was still an opportunity, though, because once it's flatlined, what do? You rebuild, and I mean, it's beautiful. The memorial they've put up is beautiful and whatnot, but anything that gets torn down, if you have destruction, you get this chance to redo it. My life has experienced things like that, Jonah, where you all of a sudden you lose it. You lose everything and you rebuild. But what we don't lose is ourselves. And so if we can step out to be of service to another human being, I mean, rock on. Okay, so all right, so you're in Maui. You're working. Let's talk about what you're doing with the kids, because you're doing some extraordinary work with children.
You know, can I share something really briefly to whip off of what you brought in with
Absolutely.
9/11? Um, you know, so 9/11 takes place. We the response from our public safety, our firefighters, to 9/11, right?
Yeah.
The heroism that was exemplified in that,
Amazing.
and that our entire economy suffered and crashed from that experience. That
Hmm.
is the same exact experience is why I'm not a firefighter today, is because my position as a firefighter, we no longer had the economic wherewithal as a firefighter for the city of Reno in that area where that recession that was hit afterwards. they laid off 80 firefighters.
Oh.
So, and this wasn't the only place that happened. It happened in Reno. It happened in Las Vegas. It happened in multiple other places where the same exact people that rushed into these buildings that were looked at as heroes for our service were expendable,
Mm.
after 9/11. And so we think about our public safety officials and those that sit in that position, and really what it is comes into that notion of, it's kind of like right now of like uh, who's making the decisions as to what is what's the word I'm trying to think of right now, what stays open and what closes, like
Mm.
essential, that's the word I'm looking for, right? What's essential and what's not essential, you know and so now what we experienced in Reno, for instance, is a department of 350 firefighters is now cut 80 firefighters off. So that's a pretty large percentage of the force that are
Mm-hmm.
now no longer employed. We went from 4-man engine companies to 3. So we have one less person, which is an unsafe situation. We closed down fire stations all around the
Mm.
city. We had to close down stations, so there was longer response time to get to emergencies and to be able to get to fires and to be able to hold that space and keep our communities safe. So that level of what's essential and who are making these decisions and these choices for our communities is really something I think we need to address and learn from a situation such as 9/11. And I love that you brought it up, because that's actually when we're
Wow.
wanting to start this caravan that we've named is Trails to Freedom, which
Mm-hmm.
is a campaign around the reclaiming of our the power to the people, of our sovereignty as a people and our liberation, and that we are the ones that are get to choose what is done with um, our energy. So like as we're representing leaders and politicians, and those who are in governance and leadership positions, that they're representations of the people, that they're there to listen to the people and to bring forth actions and initiatives that are answering that call. In the same way a
Mm-hmm.
firefighter, we find out what the call is from dispatch and we answer the call, we respond to the call. There's no side agenda of what we need to do. There's nothing that is in the space of what do I want to do, is it, with this experience, but it's just like, no, let's respond and let's take care because there's a need there. Let's make sure that that need is met. And
Mm-hmm.
then we can go back to a space of homeostasis, and return to that.
I
So
love that. Well, I love what you're saying. It really, what it was more about was in reference to the fact that I was looking for something as extreme as uh, 9/11, was just the point of the opportunities that arrive out of the massive destruction. I did not know that about the layoffs. That's huge. And it's also mind-boggling, but you're right. How all of these things are hugely important, which is why that I love things like the Peace 2030 game and the fact that we get to, this is where it begins. How do we handle those things? By taking action on the things we can. And if enough of us are doing it, we're going to see it happen, because it's the effect of the 100th monkey. And that right there is, so it is going to happen. Believe that all of these visions that you've had and your Jedi alliance is going to actually help so many human beings learn how to do things a little bit differently. And you also, like, just in the 100th monkey as well, like it's the children taught the parents, the children taught the aunts and the uncles and whatnot. So our children here that are here to teach us, and we're learning from them, but at the same time you're working with children to be a new kind of a guide.
indeed, and that's so much of the focus, yeah, of the not only what this campaign is around is empowering the youth. Uh, the academy is so much around that, is empowering the youth of co-creating a safe space for the youth to guide us into what is needed for the future, and for them to be given the skills and resources that they need uh, to realize their fullest potential. And so, as I see this academy, basically the alliance are like everyone who's in an alignment with this notion of peace on earth, you know, and the way that we get there is with unconditional love, and through in unity, and in our alliance that we're staffing and we're co-creating this space for our youth to be able to really play, and to get it into that highest level of vibration and joy and bliss into what it is that they're creating that's coming forth and through them, so that they're realizing their purpose from early on, you know and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm interested in cultivating, as a facilitator of education, is that it's not about me sitting, sharing and lecturing upon a particular thing, but rather, hey, from this is what I understand and knowing, and I'll share what I understand, and what do you know, and like let's have an interaction, because that student teacher relationship is really one that is within that experience and the interactiveness, and really the master teacher is life. It's not, a I'm the teacher and they're being the student, but like you just brought in, the children are our teachers. They're
Mm-hmm.
coming back in because it's like, oh, this, what does that look like for them? Is what I'm, if something that I'm creating is not in alignment with the youth, then I need to really take a step back and go, okay, what needs to be changed so that it's in alignment and it is good for the youth, the next generation, and fostering that, cultivating that, to look at it from even the standpoint of, is this good for the next generation? And then if that's good for the next generation, then it's probably going to be good for the next generation, right? Because the last generation, and it just becomes a cycle of like each generation continues to evolve instead of
Mm-hmm.
devolve. That's to me what revolution is. It's our evolution. It's not a battle per se, but rather it is around the notion of we get to continue evolving together and learning from our experience, so that life continues to go on and life continues to thrive. And that's where the safety to me comes in. Is that, you know look at education in the last many years, where kids we're fearful of shootings in our schools. you know we got to a point where like our schools were no longer safe places. We have like, you know safety checks like metal detectors, and our schools started looking like, high security institutions, and penitentiaries, and it's the same model. And that's what we've been doing, is capitalizing off of our youth and capitalizing off of incarceration, which to me has just been the evolution of slavery. It's just been that shift of let's move into that. We can't own slaves any longer because of the Emancipation Proclamation. So we're going to move it into another way of going about it, which is going to be through our incarceration, through our jail systems. And so to really answer what's been going on in the systemic oppression, is how, to me, an answer to that is around unitive justice, and it's about empowering the youth with truth of what's taken place, and not giving them a piece of the history that is incomplete, that has been manipulative, and is telling a story that is perpetuating the illusion of separation, and perpetuating fear, and perpetuating these things. But rather, let's just tell the truth. you know let them choose based off of knowing the truth, we're instinctually know what is going to be a good thing, what's going to be the best thing for us to move forward in. And we see it. The youth are brilliant right now. They're absolutely, like the millennials are we sometimes, like, there's been this stigma and stereotype around millennials being, lazy or entitled or enabled or anything like that. And it's like, nah, they just don't want to. They know that there's a lot of BS and untruths out there, and they don't want to perpetuate it. They don't want to participate in that anymore. They're here to bring forth the new, and so how, like, to empower them with those, the resources, the skills, the funding, the technology that we have, so that they can then bring that in and really put it into action, is what the Jedi Academy is really about. And if we have these academies blossoming all over the place with this peace on earth game, you know, and the gamification, that's another thing, is like they love games. They like to, like, have fun and play games. So, like, to gamify life and with a mission of peace, is such a brilliant concept. And it's not, it no longer is a concept, it's being actualized right now. Like, we're doing it,
Yes.
and the rest of the world will have an opportunity to participate fully in that in, a couple 3 weeks from now. Like, we're on the verge of an incredible uh, adventure and journey together, and it's really exciting. And I also want to, like, love that, like I was sharing with you earlier, spirituality gone wild, and these platforms that are sharing this is changing our media, is bringing forth new media that is our mediumship to bring and share these messages with the world, so that there's an awareness into what's happening out there, that is, is love, and is it's light, it's peace, and and we're not sitting there like, oh, we're just looking at it from a sparkly, rainbow standpoint all the time, but it's really
No.
grounded in action. It's really grounded in awareness. It's really grounded in what can we do on a day-to-day basis to show up in our best selves, to show up for our community, for our family, to know that, hey, we can do better than this. We've learned
Hmm.
what past from our past mistakes, and we can do better than this right now, and let's choose that. I don't think we have any other option right now, honestly, to really.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah. Well, I honestly, I always, that's kind of the radar, isn't it? Like, is what I'm doing working? Well, I mean, it is working, but is it, how well is it working? How, where, if we take a guess that it might not be working, and it might be time for a change. And I'm guessing that there's a lot of people out in this world right now that feel that same way. And without people like you willing to go to the front lines, I mean, you did it as a fireman, and now you're doing it as a Jedi warrior for peace. Without people like you willing to do this, then the change would maybe, well, it's going to take a lot longer. It's going to happen, but without I'm just in so much gratitude, doing really great work in the world to be seen. That's what it's about. Period. That's the reason that it started to begin with. But you also brought up rewilding today. And I want to talk about that word for a minute, because it's definitely a gorgeous concept, and I really want to spend a few minutes talking about it, because it's really an important activity that one can take. You can do this in your own life. So easy.
absolutely, absolutely. Rewilding, right? Is really the action of um, of our, like, our very, our animal instinct. Our groundedness um, into Mother Nature. And
Mm-hmm.
to look at ourselves from that standpoint, you know, I think is we're in a it literally I use the word grounding because we're in our root chakra with that. Um, we're showing up with a level of uh, we're in the circle of life, and the rewilding, and to get wild again, and to get radical again, and to be be a like be an animal. It brings us back into that nature of like all the animals are our brothers and sisters, are our family, and I think that that's such a huge part of our healing process, and that's what I would say has been something that has been missing in some of our humanitarian efforts uh, at a large level is, we need to really be focusing in on like, let's be in the circle of life. We're not outside of the circle, in the same way of like, are humans at the center of the universe? Like, does everything revolve around us? It's like, no, like we're part of it. Absolutely. We're all revolving. And so I love the rewilding component of and really thinking about like what does that look like? You look at this lion behind me right now as an imagery, and that came forth for me like that's when I feel the most powerful. That's the primordial essence of myself is to like is
Yep.
to really sit in that and be like, yeah, I'm gonna lion up right now. What does the lion represent? The lion represents leadership and courage and sovereignty.
Yes.
And it shifts the notion of even the small ego self nature of what pride looks like to really what a lion pride looks like is around our family. You
Yes.
know,
Oh, yes. Yes.
that's the pride of a lion of that nature, that primordial essence. Is that we're all one family here. Humans and all the animals, like we're all here we're all children of Earth. That's our mama. Like all of us have the same like Earth mama and the time that we are here, and she's you know given us the abundance and life and presence and everything that we need, and to have a great time, and to come together. And I think that right now she's got she's sharing with us in many ways, like, hey y'all, get you got to stop acting up. Okay, you got to get your rooms
You're
right
right.
now and take a time in for a second and figure some things out because we're being too destructive out there in the world. You
Yep.
know? And so yeah,
I agree. I agree with that. And as you know, we've been for years we've talked about the world has talked about what could happen if certain changes didn't start happening in our world. This entire experience of COVID has given us all the opportunity to reevaluate what is it is in our life that we held important. What that we and everybody's we're shifting. The other person is becoming important too. Really empathy. Empathy is like everywhere I turn, empathy is happening. Kindness is happening. In fact, you know what? Let's see if I can bring it up really quick. I was at Staples the other day and I saw something and I took a picture of it because I thought it was just so rad. It's a peachy folder that
see,
says kindness is cool. How rad is that?
that's awesome.
I was like, "Oh my god, this is so cool." And if you keep your eyes peeled and you're really looking for it, you're going to see it. That's the cool part. You see, what I can tell you about having that photo in my phone is tells you what I think about. What I what I mean, I'm a normal human being, but what's important to me. And that's really what the point of that whole thing was when about COVID and about all of this, about what you're doing, is that reevaluation of what's important and you giving people the container and this safe. It's amazing to me.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that. Like that seed right there to be planted, that you found that in downtown Los Angeles at Staples Center, you know, is remarkable. It really shows, like, imagine if with art, right, to bring conscious art. I have a friend who went downtown Los Angeles, Skid Row, and
Hmm.
she put on, her name's Celeste Verduzco, and her platform is Artivism Now. And so she puts on her skates and like in these butterfly wings and literally skates down Skid Row on her rollerblades, and
What's her name?
Celeste Verduzco.
I know somebody that does that. Her name's not coming to me. I wonder if that is her. I wonder if it's the same. You can't. She's vibrant as the day is long. Anyway, but go ahead. So yeah, so she's out there skating on Skid Row. Okay.
We have like living art expressions such as that, that radical self-expression that, she's really bringing forth through that platform, and to think about, like I think that's what I see is this youth initiative also, that like to artify the world, like there's so many canvases that, instead of there being like, graffiti, which graffiti is really, is more about the need for expression.
Mm.
you know that's why
Mhm.
that's why gangsters are tagging, is because there's a need for us to be able to express ourselves. And when we're been oppressed and our voices have been suppressed, then it comes out and it boils up into destructive and unhealthy ways. But if we can
Yeah.
give and release that in a healthy way and give an outlet for that expression, then we have things like that, like kindness is cool, and how many brilliant quotes and ways of utilizing art that we can express and canvas out our cities, and on all of these concrete jungles are full of them. And it's like when I lived in LA and many of these cities, I'm just like, let's put art on all these
Oh
walls,
yeah.
and beautify the cities with art and inspirational, motivational sayings and quotes. And the other part I wanted to that came up when you were sharing that kindness is cool, is that I would say, coming from Maui right now, I came here, and one of the things that I learned most about by coming here um, was the spirit of aloha,
Mm.
and really that what that really is, what that really means. There's so much more depth to that. There's so much more spirit to that than it being a gesture of a hello or a goodbye or a salutation. But it's literally it's a way of being, and to bring some more understanding around that. Auntie Paki had shared a hui, an acronym for aloha, and the
Mm.
first A in that is akai, and it means kindness.
Oh
To be
wow.
expressed with tenderness. And it's like and then the L is lokahi, which means unity, to be expressed in harmony. You know,
Mm.
the O is olu olu, which means agreeable, to be expressed with pleasantness. You know, when I think of that, I think about, how many how much debating and arguing goes on around our different belief systems. Like COVID, for instance, right now, one person believes to wear a mask, and the next person believes not to wear a mask, and
Mhm.
then it starts to become this, and it's like, can we agree to disagree? Like, if I'm not in a mask wearing position, I cannot wear a mask, and if you are, you can wear a mask, and like, awesome mask, like, way to represent yourself, and I get to choose that, and so like, that olu olu, that agreeable, comes in also, like our politics, is such a big place too, of like sitting there and having these debates and arguments and going back and forth, and having, parties that are speaking of gangs, you got Bloods and Crips. You know, you got Democrats and Republicans, and red and blues, and it's like, what? Where can we find the
Hmm.
cohesion, the alignment, the agreement?
Right.
You know, and I think one of those places that I see the agreement that we can come into is water. We can
Yeah.
all come into the agreement that water is life and that we need
Yeah.
clean water, and everybody needs access to clean water. You know, like, I think we can all come to agreement around our water, and we can come to agreement that we all need, like, land, you know, that is not polluted with pesticides
Correct.
and all kinds of other chemicals and put in, and that we don't need to be drilling into our mother earth to pull out fossil fuels and to pull out the minerals and these kind of things to be able to do whatever it is that we need to
Right.
do. We can do it more regeneratively and sustainably with our natural resources and work with her, you know. And so, like, that's where, to me, those are the pillars of the Jedi Academy and the Jedi Alliance are those elements, the elements of earth, the elements of water, the element of air, and the element of fire. You know, and that fire is our culture, our our wisdom that needs to be passed on from the our past generations onto the next generations. You know, and so much culture has been lost, has been whitewashed out, and that's where a lot of the trauma is that we're
Yeah.
healing right now. You know, is to really come back in and remember who we are. You know, we are all indigenous to this planet, so there's not a matter of like, there's this indigenous, you know, people here and indigenous people here, and I'm not indigenous because I'm this. No, we're all indigenous people. We all come from
Yep.
go, come from the planet, you know. So what we can learn from each other and is that, you know, that okay, we came from this planet. We can agree on the water, you know, right? We can agree on these elements from which we came from because we are animated Earth.
I absolutely love this. I just we want to. We're coming up on the hour here, so I just want to recognize a few of the people that have been watching. Rachel Jensen, thank you so much. And she says, Rachel sees some graffiti. Some see it as graffiti, some see it as greatness. And then we have Lyra. Hey, Lyra, what's up? Uh, this is very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
No worries. So I'm so grateful that you were here today, and we talked about so many awesome things. And I hope if anybody could take anything from your gratitude moment, what is your gratitude moment so that we'll give it to everybody here?
Hmm. Gratitude moment. I I'm grateful for life, you know, for this opportunity to be alive. I think literally, like, that is something that we, as a people, have been taking it for granted. You
Yeah.
know, the one in how many trillion possibilities of us actually existing as we are, who we are,
Yeah.
in our uniqueness and our authenticity. You know, and so, you know, that's where my gratitude is just life, and so I want to uh, give thanks to that and praise to that each and every day with how I walk, how I talk, you know, how I relate to life is how I relate to each and every person that I meet, how I relate to, you know, coming in with the relating to the plants, relating to the animals, relating to all sentient life, you know, and it's around that, you know, that it's about being in love with life and being in gratitude for life, you know, and then I'll also
Beautiful.
call in, you know, the my gratitude for being a father, you know, and my daughter Zola, you know, I even did an acronym for her name. That came out as her name spelled Zola, Zola. So it was Zenith's omnipotent learning activities, you know, and I would even look at it life's activities, you know, Zenith's omnipotent life activities.
Wow.
what that stems from for the youth, is like giving that our youth an opportunity to reach that pinnacle, that most high, the
Yes.
top of their fullest potential, you know, and if each of us are ascending to that and we support each other up that, we may all take a different direction and a different trail to get there because each of us has our own path. But that's the beauty of it because then I get to hear about your story, and
Yep.
the next person's story and Lyra's story. And, every single person's going to have a story that we can all sit by the fire and be like, what'd you experience? And
Right.
you
Yeah.
here.
Completely. I say without your dark, you wouldn't know your spark. Choo! And
True. Yeah.
and thank you for your gratitude moment. That is a Spark the G Vibe Sunday moment for you guys. Gratitude for life. And I don't think that it gets much better than that. When you're just grateful to be alive, grateful for the moments when I had that experience just a bit ago in my car, and it's just like this going, gosh, it's just so beautiful here. I love Southern California. So I'm just like driving around, like just excited, looking at the palm trees. Just I'm from here, and I still get excited about it. Well, thank you, Jonah, so very much. Right here, you guys, if you've noticed, his website's going right across the screen. All you have to do is go to that, put that into your web browser, and go and visit Jonah and learn more about Jonah and the Jedi Alliance. And also, Spirituality Gone Wild, we are just launching our very first membership, you guys. I put the link in. That's all there is to it. You just go there and you're going to get all kinds of great stuff. And check out the great shows coming this week. We, of course, have American Gumption that starts our day off bright and early here in Southern California at 7 a.m. And that is Steve Weber. And the rest of the week, we've got so many hosts and great stuff coming. So, and if you missed earlier, go back and watch the replay of Radiance Burns. Please, Lighthouse Effects. You've got to see it. True EQ. It's awesome. All right. Peace out, everybody.
Aloha.
Aloha.